Hello and welcome back to another video. I'm so glad you're here. On this channel, I talk about news, controversies, and drama on the bookish side of the internet, and I certainly hope you will stick around. So today's video is going to be a little more casual than usual. I'm going to talk about a few different smaller things going on, some serious, some less serious, but hopefully this can, just be like a nice little break from the super duper scammy stuff. So to start with, I have a little update for you. So about a month ago, I made a video about the canceled Readers and Dreamers Festival. I might have said that wrong because I keep forgetting what order those words go in, but you know what I'm talking about. It was supposed to take place the first weekend of March 2026, and I will link the video up here and down in the description if you missed it. So the company that ran that event is called Fantastic Collection, and in that video, I went back into the company's history and found that they have a history of being shady and putting on events outside of their means pretty much. Now, as of today, quite a few people have gotten refunds, which is great news, but the bad news is that the refunds haven't come from Fantastic directly, but from Eventbrite. So I assume that the company now owes Eventbrite a lot of money, but I actually don't know how that works at all, so just ignore me. So this is a post that was made by an attendee on March 18th. It's been nearly a week since the Starfall Ball in Colorado that was supposed to happen in May, and all the future Fantastic Collection events were abruptly canceled. That's right, they canceled all of their future events. We were supposed to receive updates on refunds within 24 to 48 hours, but haven't heard a peep. Super disappointed that a sold-out show was canceled in the first place. More disappointed in the lack of communication about refunding tickets that were $350 plus. Anyone else here affected? We should probs all stay in communication. And someone replied, we were able to work through Eventbrite to get our tickets refunded, but it took a bit of proactive effort to accomplish it. If anyone wants some guidance on this, shoot me a DM and I'll tell you what we did that finally got us the refund. It's honestly just ridiculous that it's this hard to get refunds. The way some of these companies operate, it's like they just want to cancel an event, be shrug their shoulders, oops, and then disappear because they have no money to refund people. And that's shitty behavior. And a reminder that the attendees who got refunds haven't even been in contact with Fantastic. The refunds have come from Eventbrite. Because of this, from what I've seen, it's been a lot more difficult for authors to get refunds since they paid the company directly. And the company has generally been unresponsive. So this is a post from 1 week ago. She Writes with Knives wrote, Readers and Dreamers, Dreamers and Readers. Event canceled. I'm not a messy person. If something hits the fan, I prefer to handle it professionally, with grace and behind the scenes, but after receiving no response and no refund for over a month from Wandering Fantasy Planner and her team at Fantastic Collection, I'm having to make a stink about it. I paid for Dreamers and Readers on October 23rd, 2024. Leslie sent out a statement that said she would refund everyone in the order payment was received. Great. However, I closed my bank account and left the bank entirely that my payment was made with on March 6, 2025. I reached out letting Leslie and the team know this and that they will have to process a refund via PayPal or Venmo. I sent the proof. There has been nothing but radio silence. I worked with Leslie on 2 other events in the past and had a wonderful time. I never had any complaints or saw issues, so this really ripped the rug out from under me. I know I am not alone in this mess she caused, and I think it goes without saying that it put a financial burden on many as well as an undue amount of stress. Leslie, I'm calling you out publicly to address this. Since you would prefer to post and ghost on your business account, ignore direct emails, but continue to post on your personal account. I will happily remove this post should you respond with a date I can expect my refund and or the refund itself. It's literally the least you can do. And then a few days later, she was refunded. I'm a little confused about how it all worked with her bank, but the point is that she did end up getting her money back. And she pinned a comment on this post with her update. My old bank issued a check today. I'm surprised, to be honest. When I went in to get a printout of the closed account and told them what was happening, the manager said there was nothing they could do. That if Fantastic issued a refund, BOA would send it back to them and I would have to go through them for the funds. It's been an absolute nightmare. Someone else said, we're dealing with a similar issue for Colorado Starfall. Bought early bird tickets directly, not through Eventbrite, so cannot request refunds via Eventbrite. No reply from Leslie, and it's so frustrating dealing with this. This is the 3rd event of hers we had tickets for that got canceled. Third, that's crazy and unacceptable. And for anyone who wants to blame this person for continuing to buy tickets to these events, remember that she starts selling these like a year and a half in advance, and the company's only like 3 years old, so like these people didn't know how things would end up being, especially with some of the events at the beginning being very successful. Another person says, I haven't received mine either, and I've reached out many times. And the original poster, a quick response would honestly ease my mind. Someone else, I was an author for the event and I still haven't received my refund for the table. She comes back and says, so far I've only personally seen 2 authors that received their refund. The majority is still waiting. And did you see? She canceled all events that are on the calendar, all of them, even after she canceled the December 2025 one and gave people the option to move it to an event in 2026 or 27. That's right, even if you had nothing to do with Dreamers and Readers, but you had switched to a different event when one of the many events you were supposed to go to canceled, you're now out that money too. The case with this author, unfortunately, seems to be the exception and not the rule, and although you can't actually purchase tickets, the Fantastique website has remained untouched. So not really a satisfying conclusion, but I'm, hopeful with enough persistence, maybe people will be able to get refunds. It's definitely not right for it to take that much work, but it seems like, unfortunately, that's the only way it's going to happen. Another update that's not so much of an update because not much has happened. We remember Virginia Johnson of Anytime Author Promotions going on a racist rant while driving, I might add, about how there wasn't really anything going on in Minneapolis and she barely saw ICE agents and actually everything is fine. She ran a lot of events and a ton of people started dropping out of them. Well, the website is no longer working, and there have been exactly 0 new posts on her personal Instagram and Facebook in addition to the company's accounts. However, Facebook groups dedicated to the individual events still seem to be active. I'm choosing to remain hopeful that word will continue to spread around in the indie author community and people can make an informed decision on whether or not they'd like to continue attending her events. Closing out on updates from events, I saw this post and it really just made me sad. This is an author who has been involved in a few of these that we've talked about before, Parker A. Garner. Getting my tax documents together and seeing all the deposits I paid for events that ended up being scams or run by terrible people is a salty reminder to trust your gut and watch for red flags. This industry is unfortunately filled with people just itching to steal your money. And this is true, it's so hard to see people, especially with like the Anytime Author Promotions. It's like people have been to those events and had a great time and felt really comfortable. And then to have something like this happens, it's heartbreaking. You don't know who you can trust. Anyways, next up we have one of the absolute worst marketing decisions I've ever seen by an indie author. A few days ago, an author named Alora Reed made this now deleted post on Threads. I haven't slept. I can't think straight. My friend Aria Wayne went missing overnight. No one can find her. Please, if you've seen this girl, let me know ASAP. And then there is like a missing persons poster. This is someone else's screenshot, but I did actually see the original post at the time, and I looked at the phone number, which is 123-456-7890. Thought, what the fuck, and then I scrolled on. So yes, this author made a fake missing person poster to promote her book while giving 0 indication that it was promotion. And the actual text of the post is really concerning. This is perhaps the only time that I've ever hoped AI was used to make a picture, because if this is just like a random stock image of some girl, that's really not good. Or better yet, I hope it's someone the author actually knows and consented to having her image used in that way. Couple things though. The poster says, have you seen this person? And it says wanted. So that, isn't exactly what these things say normally. The fact that it says that and not missing is, another thing that kind of leads me to believe it's AI, but you guys know that I don't know. But looking at this at a glance, it looks very concerning. And I don't know why this post showed up in this order, but this is the rest of what her post said. There's a killer in town and she's alone with him. Bound to a Killer by Alora Reed is a dark romantic thriller about a hitman's mission gone wrong, leading him to kidnap and develop a forbidden bond with a girl 7 years his junior. And of course, this is like 2 of 2 on Threads, so like you'd have to actually click on it to be able to see that second part. Someone replied, this is tone deaf AF. I reposted because I thought someone was genuinely in danger and took it back because this is disgusting to say the fucking least. Do better. Someone said, fuck you, this isn't funny, this isn't right. I was genuinely going to boost for visibility, and then I see it's a book promo. Never do this again. Yeah, I mean, I saw it first, and that was kind of my inclination, but then I saw the phone number, and I was like, yeah, something's weird here. So yeah, people in the US are literally being dragged out of their homes and kidnapped, and it might not be people who looked like this person in the photo, but it's happening, and this is just extremely distasteful. I assume that this author is not American based on the fact that the date is written as 30 March 2026, but you don't have to be American to know about the things that are happening here. Not to mention that this would always be gross no matter what. And while the majority of comments expressed similar opinions, there were actually more than a few people who saw nothing wrong with this way of promoting. I don't think this is something I'd ever like, but if this is something an author insists on doing, please make it clear at the top of the post that it is not real. Some more people commented not at all, because this was posted with someone saying, like, reposting it, and it said, am I overreacting? Not at all. This is sick, especially in a world where young girls are so often targeted and being sold into sex trafficking rings. Not only that, but writing a book about what I assume is a minor in her late teens being kidnapped by a grown man, no, no, no. Hopefully the character is an adult, but if not, that is 100% pedophilic behavior to write something like that, and she needs to get help for that mental illness ASAP. Yep, her book has an age gap, so the post makes sense now. It's in my comment. Somber might pin it. Someone might pin it. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Someone needs to report her. There was an author that was recently incarcerated for writing a book that glorified pedophilia, and that's exactly what this is doing. I mean, if she's here in the US, I guess nothing will happen to her since our country is run by pedophiles, but someone needs to put her on some type of watch list. I'm not going to say whether or not it needs to go that far, but I do think this is a pretty gross thing to be romanticizing Stockholm Syndrome and grooming. I am not a dark romance reader, and so I certainly don't mean to sound judgmental, but an age gap romance where one of the parties is a minor feels like a line. And in case you were wondering, here's actual proof that this is what her book is about. So this is a passage from the book. It says, would you get in his car? Reading the highlighted things, I won't last much longer out here. And then the male character says, you go to Hillside, right? She says, how'd you know? He says, you're wearing a backpack, and it's the only school around this area. I bite my lips nodding because that makes sense. And then he says, I have business right next door, so it's already on my way. It's up to you, but it looks like you could use the ride. And then she says a couple things. You work at a law firm across the street? So I, suppose, like, okay, reading this, maybe there's a small chance she's in college. I've never heard of college being called a school in this context, but then we've also got this. So I got blackmailed into going to prom once. I sent a risky photo to the wrong guy, and he used it to make sure I showed up with him. I figured I'd stay long enough to keep him from doing anything with it, then leave. That didn't happen. When I tried to walk out, he followed me. I told him to stop, shoved past him, but he just kept coming. It escalated faster than I'd expected, and I remembered thinking I'd seriously misjudged the situation. I was scared. I didn't know what he was going to do. And then the man who'd been stalking me for weeks stepped in, and for a second I didn't feel relieved at all. That's when things went from bad to worse. So again, not trying to be judgmental of the dark romance genre, but I'm pretty sure we can agree that the characters should be adults. And even if that's not something that you agree on, this promotion was, like, objectively bad. Well, after deleting her post, naturally, she extended an apology, because they always do. I want to apologize for the marketing post I shared earlier. I understand why it upset people, especially with the current climate, and I'm really sorry. I should have been more mindful. I regret not thinking more carefully about how it could come across. I took the post down as soon as I realized, and I'll be more thoughtful and considerate with my marketing going forward. I'm truly sorry for anyone that I have hurt and vow to do better. Bingus Madingus said, whose photo did you use for your fake missing poster? And someone else said, like it matters. I'm just asking because someone else said that she just grabbed some random girl's photo from Pinterest, and I wanted to verify that. I'll put it up here again. I personally think that this is AI, but I don't know. I don't know. You guys know I'm bad at this, so just whatever. But again, there were people who didn't see anything wrong with this post. So this one says, that's BS, Alora. People use that marketing tactic all the time. Don't let these sensitive Nancy's tear you down. Sensitive Nancy's, haven't heard that one before. I didn't see an issue with your marketing post. I would have kept it up. People these days will find an issue with everything. Don't allow them to get away with it. Market your book however the fuck you want to. It's your book. You did nothing wrong. The fact that you can't see anything wrong with it means you're also part of the problem. I hope no one ever goes missing in your life and you have to make a post like this and no one believes you because of bitches like this. Pretending like your friend got kidnapped for a marketing tactic is pathetic and absolutely insane. And the person here defending her, Luna Sage Apothecary, actually has been problematic in the past on her own. So yeah, these two actually go back and forth arguing for a bit, but like you get the point. And I would love to hear some more takes in the comments. Our next subject has been everywhere. On April 8th, Kindle sent the following email. Kindle notice, devices no longer supported. Dear customer, thank you for being a longtime Kindle customer. We're glad our devices have served you well for as long as they have. Starting May 2nd, 2026, 14 to 18 years after their initial launches, we are discontinuing support for Kindle devices released in 2012 or earlier. Here's what this means for you. You can continue to read books already downloaded on these devices, but you will not be able to purchase, borrow, or download additional books on them after that date. If you deregister or factory reset these devices, you will not be able to re-register or use these devices in any way. Affected devices include Kindle first and second generation, Kindle DX and DX Graphite, Kindle Keyboard, Kindle 4, Kindle Touch, Kindle 5, and Kindle Paperwhite first generation. To minimize any disruption, we're offering a promotional code for 20% off select new Kindle devices, and then the code is there, valid through June 20th, 2026. Our newer Kindle devices bring meaningful improvements in screen quality, performance, and accessibility, and you'll have access to your complete Kindle library and Kindle store. You can also continue to read all your books on our free Kindle apps, Android, iOS, Mac, and PC, and Kindle for web. If you have any questions or require assistance, please visit yada yada. So this created quite a stir. Some people really didn't see an issue with this, while others are very unhappy with this decision by Amazon. A lot of people are upset because their Kindles work fine, and this seems like it's just a way to get people to purchase new Kindles. Others think this is just what happens with technology, and it's silly to think older versions of tech products won't eventually be phased out. I have a lot of opinions that I will get to sharing in a moment, but to me, the biggest difference maker here is that these older Kindles haven't had a hardware update in years. Based on the posts I've seen, it seems like that hasn't mattered, and their old Kindles are perfectly functional still. This is from Reddit. I like how the email implies that they've been continuing to support these devices until now. Since the affected Kindle models haven't had any updates since 2015 or earlier, what would prompt Amazon to do this other than corporate greed? What's more alarming is the possibility of newer models being made obsolete like this in the future. I genuinely don't mind that I won't be able to purchase books from the Kindle store. Those with older Kindles are more likely aware of sideloading, but there's no reason to brick the thing if one chooses to factory reset or more accurately, Amazon's device. Additionally, they just presume we'll bite the bullet and upgrade to a newer model. Now that we know potentially all Kindle models have a ticking death clock, why would I upgrade? There are no new/additional features of the latest Kindle Paperwhite model that makes upgrading worthwhile in my opinion. Otherwise, I would have perhaps considered upgrading before now. The email is not welcome news, but something along the lines of you can continue using these models offline only, etc. would have been appreciated. There's no disposal information in the email either. In this day and age, a respectable company would want to ensure their older devices are responsibly disposed of. Well, keyword there is respectable. So this is definitely a good point, but let's look at some people on the other side of the conversation. This is a response to someone vague posting about it. If this is what I think this is about, the whole complaining is so stupid. Apple did the same with old iPhones and people went feral. We live in 2026. Companies will prioritize newer devices. It's how things are. I didn't cry when my 2012 iPad I've had for 14 years got deserviced. It's sitting in my drawer as a memoir. And honestly, a Kindle from 2012 is due an upgrade. People will find anything to complain about. Someone else said, that's exactly how I feel. What can we do? I get it, times are rough, but you can't Klarna a new Kindle. If you really need the money to replace it, let's help her out. I got my Kindle on Black Friday sale in 2024, a 2022 Kindle. It was £84, but I got it on Zilch. It really ain't that serious, but any device over 10 years is an old device, ancient software. It wouldn't handle new upgrades, and then people would complain, oh no, Amazon broke my Kindle with the new update. So again, this is an argument that seems to be missing the key fact that hardware hasn't been updated for years and the devices still work. For some reason, I don't know, I actually still have an iPhone 4 that I can't make phone calls with because there's no phone number attached to it, but it can still connect to Wi-Fi. Obviously, it doesn't have the features of later devices, but it still works. My best friend had an iPhone 6 until like a year and a half ago, and she loved that thing. It had the button still. The only reason she doesn't have it anymore is because it was stolen. So that statement is just not true. And also, suggesting using Klarna to buy a new one is not the answer. I know plenty of people use those buy now, pay later options without issue, but it's kind of a slippery slope for some people and can lead to overspending. And it is a line of credit, which a lot of people don't want to open. And, you know, if you're late on a payment, that is going to show up on your credit report. I'm just saying, this isn't a good solution. So here is another post by someone. Now we're classist because of this Kindle thing. If money is the issue, for a lot of us it is, and you don't have money to buy a new Kindle, you also don't have money to check notes, buy new books. The selective outrage is comical. So I think it's pretty obvious at this point how I feel about the situation, but this argument makes no sense. The price of a new book is usually less than a third of the price of a new Kindle. And additionally, lots of people use Libby and get ebooks from other places. So this person thinks it's unfair to be called classist while suggesting people that don't have $100 plus should just not read, I guess. Like, people are out here skipping meals because they can't afford to eat 3 times a day. Meanwhile, they have a perfectly working device to use that now can only be used for books they already had downloaded. Then we had another person say, this debate about Amazon not supporting the old Kindle is kind of strange to me. Y'all arguing over opinions, and while everyone is arguing Amazon is still going to discontinue, we could be arguing about something more meaningful. And then the first poster said, one girl wants to argue that she's poor and currently unhoused, so her opinion on the matter is superior. That's when I knew I was done. And I had already seen this kind of playing out. Do not come for my girl Lily. No. She says, okay, now this is selective outrage. The difference between $100 for a new device and $5 to $10 for a single book, completely ignoring library ebook access, ARCs from NetGalley, etc., is clearly not the same. Yes, it is classist to boil down legitimate frustration to just upgrade. No one expects devices to be immortal, but people are perfectly valid to be upset and stressed that their working devices will no longer be so in mere days. The original poster says, I never said just upgrade. And Lily says, you said if you don't have money for a new Kindle, you don't have money for new books, implying that anyone arguing otherwise is making mountains out of molehills and being selectively angry over a non-issue. And then the original poster says, from what I understand, this Kindle lockout or whatever will affect the Kindle store and buying new ebooks, not books through EPUB downloads or through Libby. Literally no money needs to be spent for that. 90% of my books are on my Kindle are from SYK events. Stuff Your Kindle, I think that's called. Free. Or books I've read through Libby or books given from author sales. Lily says, it will affect Libby too. No new downloads at all, even of previously purchased books. It said that pretty clearly in the email. The only way to add anything new would be to sideload, which isn't possible for everyone as not all Kindle users have access to a computer or the technical know-how. It also makes these Kindles unable to be reset and re-registered to the same person or to give to someone else. So if anything happens and you need to do a hard reboot, the device won't let you log in anymore. I certainly don't mean to stereotype, but I feel like there's a high likelihood that in the Venn diagram of people who have older Kindles and people who aren't great with technology, there's a decent amount of overlap, and not everyone has a computer. She goes on to say, the people are dying take on this issue is actually far more relevant to the people who keep on fighting with people being annoyed by this. Agreed. Someone else being frustrated that they will soon need to replace their working Kindle does not affect you in the slightest. So why are so many people being rude and combative to strangers for the benefit of no one but a mega corporation? Yeah, as someone often impacted by issues of classism in the industry I read and professionally write in, I'm going to have thoughts on these topics, but that's not me weaponizing my marginalizations to say that my opinion should hold more water. It's because I care deeply about accessibility and equity in the book community, and I have relevant knowledge that is often useful to the discussion. I'm going to use my time and space online to continue to be an advocate and safe space for people who actually have bigger problems than the truly first world issue of being annoyed at others for an unexpected financial burden. You can continue to be angry over things that don't hurt you in the slightest, but if you're going to subtweet me in the process, I will expose you for misrepresenting the facts. Happy reading. Yes, she did. Truly the voice of reason. Ignoring all of that, there are still other issues that have hardly been talked about. There's absolutely no reason for Amazon to do this other than to make you buy a new Kindle. Users with older models have said over and over that they haven't had a device update in many years, and their Kindles still work just fine. They aren't asking for updates, they are asking to be able to continue using their perfectly functioning device. Imagine you have like a TV that's old but still works fine, and then you were told you could only watch things you already had saved on your DVR. Not a perfect comparison yet, but I would also find it ridiculous for like a TV manufacturer to stop letting you watch new shows, even though the TV still works. We could also talk about disposal of these old devices and how this is creating needless waste. And also, how about this? Many disabled people use the Kindle as opposed to physical books for a myriad of accessibility reasons. When I'm in a pain flare and I don't have the strength/ability to hold a book for a lengthy time, especially a heavy one, plus the Kindle will dictate you can increase font size, get remotes that help with page turning, etc. Taking away people's ability to use these devices, and let's be honest, this will most disproportionately affect lower income, non-white/disabled people, really sucks. And this last post sums up how I feel. I have the money, I just don't like throwing away a perfectly fine device just because a company decided to turn it into e-waste. Personally, I don't think it's unreasonable to expect that a device you purchase to keep being usable until the device itself fails. I'm sure there are going to be a lot of different opinions on this, so please be respectful if you choose to comment on this subject. Next subject. A reader stirred up a kind of a tired conversation, but she didn't back down. So, Weather and Book Nerd said, Heather Francis author, I'm sorry, but I'm planning on not reading your book if I don't get it. I'm tired of this shit with Berkeley Pub. So, she applied for an ARC and was saying to this author, I'm not going to read your book if I don't get it approved. So first of all, a traditionally published author has little to no control over who gets ARCs on NetGalley particularly. Second, why for the love of God would you tag the author in this? And lastly, if you're excited enough about a book to request an ARC, why would you not get it? And why would that make you decide you don't want to read it at all? Needless to say, this got people very riled up. Now, the timeline is a little fuzzy, and since this post was deleted, of course it was, I can't confirm, but I think shortly after, Berkeley put this book on NetGalley as a read now. So for those who don't know, if you've requested a book on NetGalley and gotten denied, you can't take advantage of that book being on read now, which is something I do think they should change, but as of now, that's how it is. You know, it's definitely a bummer, but most people who use NetGalley are aware of this. So the author then posted this on her threads. If you've been wanting to read Chase Me If You Can, I suggest maybe taking a little peek-see at NetGalley at some point today. Some of the responses, cries and already declined. Can't wait to read it on release day though. Does that mean it's read now? If so, can I still get it if my original request was declined? Sadly, no, because I was denied a while ago and I just checked. And then someone else says, oh, I wish there was a way to override the decline when it becomes read now. I definitely agree, but you know, that's how it is. There were several others with similar sentiments, followed by saying they will still be pre-ordering the book, which is a normal response when you love an author and want to support them, regardless of whether or not you get a free book. Entitlement is wild. Plus, Berkeley is notoriously selective when it comes to who gets their ARCs, both digital and physical. They can really humble a person. But even if she had 100,000 followers instead of 2,500, she still isn't entitled to the book, and tagging the author is weird behavior. This situation absolutely blew up, and the author ended up making a post addressing it. So she said, no one is entitled to an ARC, no one. I have been turned down on books I wanted to read. I have been turned down and not been able to read on a read now day. You know what I didn't do? Tag a debut author threatening to not buy or read their book at all because I didn't get an ARC. Trad authors do not have control over widgets or NetGalley approvals. The most power I had was to push for a read now day, so I did that. This was supposed to be a positive day. Someone replied to her, I applied for your ARC and didn't get it, so what did I do instead? Pre-ordered it so I could read it on release day with everyone else. So, after people commented on her post, She made this one blaming her mental health because of course she did. I caused a ruckus earlier, clearly, and I'm sorry I have mental health issues and I've been dying for that book. Didn't think it was a big deal. I was only letting her know that it's not her fault, just Berkeley. I'm almost solely read books from indies. And then I guess later she added, well, you all nasty people have made your point. I am sorry for tagging her, but whatever last second thought all it was to throw blame on Berkeley. Now I'm turning notifications off because I have a test to take in less than an hour. Bye. And someone replied, I'm sorry, until people don't accept your use of mental health as an excuse, until they call you out, trying to say it wasn't an attack on the author. Now people are nasty. Okay. So to clarify, I mean, like many people, I have plenty of mental health issues myself, so I get it. But this is constantly used as an excuse by people when they're out of line. And at this point, it's almost hard to take anyone seriously who uses this line as a reason why they shouldn't be held responsible. I mean, we've seen this time and time again. Also, check out the ratio here. It's got 2 hearts and 65 comments. Yikes. Here's some more comments. She doesn't need to know that, though. What do you gain from that? Your beef is with Berkeley, one of the hardest publishers to be approved for. You're not the only one. She says, honestly, I'm one person. I think she's going to live. So why even tag her? Well, whatever. Not my best judgment, but she's going to survive. I'm sure she's going to handle a lot worse. Treating an author badly because, oh well, they'll have it worse is crazy. LMFAO, good luck with your sense of entitlement. Someone else here says, having a mental illness does not mean you get a free pass to be a bitch. But sure, we all are nasty for standing up to the authors and publishing houses. Get a grip, girl. We all get denied access to ARCs all the time. What do? We continue to hype the authors and publishers. We move on, we buy, rate the book, and make sure those links are ready to email the publisher next time. At your age, and acting like a child throwing a tantrum, how embarrassing. This woman is 36 years. Someone else, you know, I have to commend you for continuing to stand 10 toes down on being an unbelievable bitch. I cannot imagine telling an author you won't read their book if you don't get an ARC. You're not entitled to reading it early in any way. You could just wait until release day like most people, but you think the sun shines out of your ass and you deserve an ARC? Yeah, good luck ever getting approved for one again. Someone else says, Heather has zero say in any of this, so it's unfair you're blaming her. Don't let ARC declines turn you away from amazing books. You already wanted to read it. You can read it on release day like you do to other books. And she said, it benefits Berkeley pubs, so not buying it. It benefits Heather, so she continue writing as her job. And the OP says, well, I don't give a fuck. There are multiple people that she got into long threads, like going back and forth with, but as usual in cases like this, she followed it up with this post. I am genuinely sorry. Today has been a bad day. Have a good night. If there's anything I learned today is that I need to talk to my doc because I don't think my meds are working. And someone replied to her, this is some next level gaslighting. Take accountability and issue a real apology to Heather. No one is owed a free copy of a book. Tagging her in a hateful post threatening to not read or buy Chase Me If You Can because Berkeley denied your ARC is abhorrent. You've also refused to take ownership for saying you don't give a fuck about her career or mental health. If you actually loved Weather, you'd be the first to support a female storm-chasing author. Instead, you made your priorities painfully clear. So, like, I don't know. It's one thing to make that initial post, and it's not, like, a great choice. But if she apologized as soon as she was called out, I don't think we'd be here. It's quite a different situation when she instead decided to fight with people on the internet over it. Now, I certainly hope she gets her meds adjusted if that's what she needs. But at the end of the day, it's an explanation, it's not an excuse, and this weak apology doesn't even approach accountability. So in a similar story, an author named Audrey Colman also made an entitled post about ARCs. So this one says, authors are readers too, so why aren't we allowed to read ARCs? No notice, nothing on the forum, but suddenly I'm not allowed to ARC for one of my favorite authors? All because I wrote and published one book? I read more than I write, but sure, discriminate against me since I wrote one book. Girl, what? This is not discrimination, but it is a white woman with a persecution complex. This one also got ratioed pretty hard, 20 likes to 165 comments. So Rebecca Kincaid, author, said to her, of course, you know, the post is deleted, Nobody is discriminating against you. You're not entitled to any arc. Just because they're your favorite author doesn't obligate them to give you anything for free. You are very much welcome and able to purchase any book you want and subsequently review it. And then someone replied, there's a huge difference between thinking you're entitled to an arc and being told you are accepted on an arc team only to be removed halfway through when the person found out you're an author, which is the context here. And Rebecca says, she provided no context and I responded to what she posted. So without knowing what author she's referring to, it's hard to deduce if this was in fact the reason, but it's still not discrimination. There's a small bit of transphobia incoming, so skip to the timestamp below if you need to. Reignited Reader says, between her perceived victimhood BS and the clean romance in her bio, she isn't going to get the attention she was hoping for. She also used her platform to be openly transphobic. She's giving authors plenty of reasons not to want to be associated with her. And then she posted a screenshot that said, that had someone saying, hey cis people, is your comfort more important than trans lives? And Audrey replied, are children being protected from pedophiles hiding under the guise of the opposite gender is more important than codifying your mental instability. And if you're wondering, this was on March 29th, so it's not like this is some old post, not that it would really matter, but... So yeah, that's a horrible thing to say, especially from someone who claims to be a Christian. And to be clear, I have nothing against Christian people or religious people at all. What I do have problems with are transphobes and people who think their beliefs should impact the way others live their lives. I don't think I need to explain any further why this take is fucking awful. By the time I caught wind of this post, she seems to have deleted her whole Threads account, so I made my way over to her Instagram to see if she had more to say there, and this is what I got. This was in her stories. Well then, I've learned how toxic Threads is. If you happen to be on there and see people telling others to lower my Goodreads rating, could you report them? And if you've read Tastes Like Watermelon Moonshine, could you go give it an honest rating on Goodreads to combat their ratings and reviews? So again, the original post is gone, so I can't say whether or not people were saying this, but outside of a few people commenting on the situation, no one is even talking about her.
I don't think about you at all.
Her Goodreads page is also not being bombed at all. Like, ma'am, calm down and stop acting like a victim. So, with just a glance at her Instagram, she makes it clear exactly who she is. Unfortunately, Audrey seems to be the type of religious person that I don't like. And once again, I'm referring here to those who try to police behaviors of others that harm absolutely no one. Here's a fun little series of stories, which she has on her story highlights, and by fun, of course, I mean judgmental and self-righteous. Recently, I signed up for an arc I found in a Christian fiction group. The cover was gorgeous. The blurb sounded adorable. It was a true story about how the author met her husband. There wasn't much of an author's note. It was basically a thank you note. She did include one small note. You'll learn things about me that I'm not really proud of. But that was it. No info on the content other than closed door. I was quite disappointed to reach a part and discover cheating. The FMC was privately communicating in a flirtatious manner with the MMC, while being in a committed relationship with another is cheating. And so far, every review has glossed over that. They've let it go. None have called it what it is. I understand some people don't like to read about cheating, but A, this is based on the author's real life, and B, how precious do you have to be to need a warning for two characters flirting even though one is in a relationship? I'm on the same page that emotional cheating is a very real thing, and I personally don't like reading about it either, but to make this big of a stink about it is weird. And additionally, you want the author to read your mind and like cater every content warning to your very particular preferences? Moving on, it says, I get it, this happens in real life, and this is based on real life, but no one wants to read about the main character's cheating, not in a Christian novel. Further, the MMC says he won't pursue the FMC until she's no longer seeing her current boyfriend. But they continue talking. Oh, and the FMC never told the MMC that she was dating someone while she was flirting with him. I don't often DNF, but that one I had to. Cheating by the main characters doesn't belong in books, especially not in Christian fiction, and there should have been a note. So all these slides to say, authors, tell us what's in your books. Don't lie, don't cover up something serious. Little closed-door reader PSA. If your bio says something like, writes sweet, faith-filled, closed-door romances and loves Jesus, but Lucy Score and Colleen Hoover are among the highlights for your fave books, and your indie author spotlight features books with cheating and explicit cracked door content. Explicit cracked door is funny to me, because those are kind of contradictions, but... Continued. Readers can't trust you. We can't trust you to keep the doors in your book closed if you're consuming content that has open doors. Explicit sexual content in a book is pornography. And if you claim to be a Christian, this is my challenge to you to stop. Stop for the sake of your walk with God. Stop for the sake of your readers. You may cause one of them to sin because you're in sin and touting it for the world to see. Because there's clearly only one way to be a Christian, and it's her way. I get the temptation. Guess what? I slip up too. But I know it's wrong, and I go to God and ask for forgiveness. I don't promote the book. I don't share it on Goodreads or anywhere. Set no wicked thing before your eyes. Avoid all appearances of evil. Just an FYI. When it comes to spicy books, we are called to set no wicked thing before our eyes. She lists some verses from the Bible. Reasoning behind my posting. Some more of them. I get it. Spicy books have their pull, but as a former spicy reader, they do us no good. They don't make us more Christ-like, and contrary to the lies many say, they do not improve marriages. No Christian can read a spicy book and come out unscathed. Spice leads to porn. Porn leads to the destruction of self-worth, the destruction of marriage, and of one's relationship with God. I will never change my view, and I will never apologize for this view. I share those statements because I just got blocked on all my accounts for making those comments from my review account on a post by a bookstagrammer who claims Christ, but claims to be tired of researching a book's content. Well, Audrey, I'm sorry you don't get to police other people's reading. It's truly a shame that other people have different opinions on what's acceptable in clean romance books and don't want you on their posts telling them they are bad and sinful people. Continuing on that story, and, I'm going to be petty and point out her bad grammar because she's an author. As Christians what? We are to be watchful and diligent, the devil is a roaring lion seeking people to devour. Watch out, lest you fall. Sin is a slippery slope. One person responded, it's just fiction. Sure, it's just one spicy book, then you're addicted. One drink, then you're addicted. One porn video, and then you're addicted. Just one. It just takes one time. Well, shit. I guess we are all just freaks of nature, guys. No, but this is such an absurd argument. What do you mean one drink makes you addicted? Or one spicy book will have you addicted to porn, which is an entire conversation in itself. That is some of the dumbest shit I've ever heard. And let me remind you, she says all of this on her professional account. Even though she discloses that she writes like clean Christian fiction, imagine if someone just wants to read a romance without sex. And then this author is telling them that if they also enjoy cracked door or open door content, then they are sinning and have an addiction. Although she probably doesn't care about alienating potential readers because her books are aimed at a very particular demographic. Her personal account is even worse, starting with her little AI profile picture. Audrey, closed door book reviews. Book reviews from a biblical worldview. This is one of her pinned posts. Is smut really that bad? And then you'll see in the corner of this that there is a list of sources. And let's just unpack those real quick. So, yeah, before I read the slides. So we have John Gottman, a so-called marriage expert with 2 divorces under his belt. Fight the New Drug, a nonprofit that claims to be secular, but has been accused of continuous influence by the Mormon Church. Focus on the Family, an evangelical organization that spends most of its time lobbying against LGBTQ rights. Studies from Barna Group, which is a Christian research organization. University Studies, whatever that means. Dana Gresh, the founder of Pure Freedom, a ministry which focuses on sexual theology, purity, and holiness for teens. Julie Slattery and Linda Dillow, who are both authors and listed as contributors on the Focus on the Family website. So yeah, maybe not the most neutral sources. This post has like 20 slides and I'm not gonna read them all, but some highlights here. In Pulling Back the Shades, Dana writes that erotica strategically and masterfully pulls you in by exploiting what your heart secretly longs for. And what do women long for? Psychologist Julie Slattery, co-author with Gresh, identifies a woman's 5 desires. To escape reality. To be cherished by a man. To be protected by a strong man. To rescue a man. To be sexually alive. All of these needs are God-breathed since Eve, the first woman created as a helper for her man. Yet the modern woman's "I can do anything, you can do better" attitude casts these relational longings as antiquated and even offensive. Now we secretly yearn for the very thing our independence has destroyed. Strong, confident men, Slattery continues. There is something wonderful and even erotic about trusting the strength of a man who can provide, protect, and lead. So women are caught at the crossroads of wanting the strength of a man, but not wanting to be controlled. I don't know about you guys, but this woman does not speak for me. She seems to miss the part about feminism being about choice and being able to choose if you want to be a stay-at-home mother who submits to her husband. Anyways, she goes on to say, "Who's in your sacred marriage bed? In Passion Pursuit, Julie Slattery and Linda Dillow are strict about who has admission into your bed of love. The marriage bed is to be kept pure. This means that it is never acceptable to involve someone else in sexual intimacy, including images, movies, fantasies, and even sexually explicit romance novels. The real or imagined presence of someone else will taint or compromise God's design for intimacy. So you do not bring someone else into your one flesh intimacy in your mind, in your heart, on a DVD, on a computer screen, or on a piece of paper." She has quite a few posts that have similar sentiments, and in one of them she does actually mention that marriage is and sex should be only between a man and a woman. So in case there was any, wondering if there was some wiggle room, no. Anyways, I just can't imagine caring so much about what other consenting adults do in the privacy of their own homes that have nothing to do with me. It honestly sounds exhausting. Well, I didn't intend for this lady's sanctimonious beliefs to become the focus of this section of the video. It did feel like there was a correlation between her feeling victimized for being denied an arc and then her judgment of others as a white Christian woman. Reiterating one last time that my beef is with Christians who act like this, not every Christian ever. And I'm leaving it there. So today I am highlighting Ciara Hartford, a fantasy romance author from Cleveland, Ohio, which is where I am originally from too, Rocky River. Also, I have a Cleveland Guardians shirt on right now. After a 20-year career as an art director, she's currently reinventing herself as a freelance illustrator and author. In April of 2024, she self-published her debut novel, The House of Starling, with plenty more projects planned. When she's not writing, she's usually illustrating something, trying out a new art medium, or mood reading all the fantasy. Her art is seriously stunning, and I definitely recommend checking out her Instagram to see some more. She loves character-driven love stories full of magic, emotional depth, bloody action, flawed characters, and the occasional brutal cliffhanger. Slow burn and forbidden romance are her favorite tropes, but she loves to focus on themes centered around inequality, trust, and self-acceptance. Down in the description will be a link to purchase Ciara's books, along with her website and social media links. Indie authors are a vital part of the bookish community, so try to support them wherever you can, even if that's just a like on social media. And if you'd like the chance to be featured indie author, there is a form down in the description. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, I'd love it if you would. Check out my Bindery page if you'd like to support me over there. Our book club pick for this month is Woodworking by Emily St. James, and we will be meeting at 8 p.m. Eastern on April 29th. Thank you so much again for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!